The lights of the grand ballroom flickered gently, like stars caught in a soft wind. The crowd inside was elegant, dressed in shimmering gowns and sleek tuxedos, their laughter rising and falling like waves at sea. The event was supposed to be a celebration, an award night filled with recognition and applause. But for Ana de Armas, it felt like she was fading into the background. Ana stood near the entrance, quietly adjusting the corner of her dress. It was a beautiful sapphire blue, flowing down to her heels like liquid silk. She had put so much thought into tonight, into how she looked, how she carried herself. She had practiced her smile in the mirror more times than she could count. She wanted to feel like she belonged. But as people walked past her with barely a glance, that hope slowly began to crumble. No one said her name. No one asked for a photo. Even the photographers had brushed past her, their cameras pointing toward bigger stars, the ones with bigger agents, louder stories, more scandal. She stood there, clapping politely when someone else was introduced, nodding when others made small talk around her, but not with her. Keanu Reeves walked in quietly, without a bodyguard, without an announcement. He never liked making an entrance. He wore a simple black suit with no tie, his hair tucked behind his ears, and a calm presence that instantly slowed the chaos around him. He scanned the room once and noticed her right away. He had worked with Ana before. He remembered her kindness, on set, her thoughtfulness when no one else was watching. He remembered the way she made even quiet scenes feel alive. But now, here she was, standing by the wall, clutching her clutch like a shield, trying not to look like she was shrinking. Keanu didn't hesitate. He crossed the room, weaving through conversations and champagne glasses. A few people tried to pull him into quick greetings, but he only smiled politely and kept walking. When he reached her, she looked up in surprise. "Keanu." Her voice was small, almost disbelieving. He gave her a gentle smile. "You look like a star tonight," he said softly. She blinked, and for a second, all the noise of the room seemed to vanish. I don't think anyone noticed," she whispered, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Keanu tilted his head. "I noticed." His words didn't just offer comfort. They sparked something inside her. For the first time that evening, she felt seen. Not just looked at, but truly seen. And then he did something unexpected. He offered her his hand. "Come." "With me," he said. She hesitated. "Where?" "To the center of the night," he replied with a small grin. People were watching now. The cameras that had ignored her began to turn. The chatter shifted like wind changing direction. She took his hand. He led her to the center of the ballroom where the golden light from the chandeliers pooled like sunshine. Someone tried to step in front of them, to pull Keanu into a conversation, but he gently waved them away. He guided her into a slow dance. Music hadn't even started, but suddenly a soft jazz melody floated from the band, as if the moment had called it into being. The crowd slowly stopped talking. They began watching, confused at first and then mesmerized. "I didn't think this night would go like this," Ana said, her voice breaking slightly. "Neither did I," Keanu whispered. "But sometimes the night needs a new story." They danced. He told her quietly about the first time he had ever been ignored at an event like this, how he had stood near the food table, completely invisible, just hoping someone would say hello. "You don't forget how that feels," he said. Ana nodded, her eyes softening. "Thank you for this." "You don't need to thank me," he replied. "The world should have noticed you first. I'm just helping it catch up." The cameras flashed now, more than ever before. Journalists whispered her name. Her photo, her dancing with Keanu Reeves, was already being posted online. But none of that mattered as much as the way she felt in that moment. Respected, important, no longer invisible. And then came the twist. Just as the dance ended and people began clapping, a woman stepped forward, her eyes full of envy. She wore a dress that cost more than most people's rent and had connections deeper than roots in old soil. "Really, Keanu," she said loudly. "You're making her the center of attention? Someone with only a few lead roles and barely a nomination? Tonight?" The room fell quiet. Eyes darted between Keanu, Ana, and the woman. Ana froze. Her heart raced. The warmth she had felt only moments ago began to slip away. But Keanu's grip on her hand tightened gently. He turned to the woman and said, in a calm and steady voice, "I didn't come here to honor award counts. I came to honor character. And she has more than most people in this room." The woman tried to laugh it off, but the silence in the room didn't let her. People were watching. And more importantly, they were listening. Ana felt her throat tighten. She wasn't used to being defended like that. Not publicly, not powerfully. Keanu looked back at her and smiled. "Shall we get some fresh air?" She nodded, and they stepped outside to the balcony, where the air was cool and the stars were real. They didn't speak for a moment. Ana looked up at the sky and exhaled. "You didn't have to do all that," she whispered. "Maybe not," he said, "but it felt right. And sometimes, right things need to be loud." A soft laugh escaped her lips. Keanu looked over the edge of the balcony, watching the cars below. "You know, every spotlight here fades. The cameras, the flashes, they forget. But kindness, that sticks." She turned to him slowly. "Why are you really here tonight, Keanu?" He paused, then said quietly, "To remind people that value isn't measured by applause." She didn't say anything after that. Instead, she stood beside him, both of them leaning on the cold railing, watching a world too busy to notice what truly mattered. But tonight one person had noticed, and that changed everything. The balcony was quiet. Only the distant sounds of laughter and clinking glasses floated up from the ballroom behind them. The city lights below blinked like 1,000 secrets. Ana stood beside Keanu, her heart still trying to understand what had just happened. "You know they're all talking about us now," she said softly, not turning to look at him. "They talk no matter what," he replied. "You might as well give them something meaningful to say." Ana gave a soft laugh, but there was a heaviness in her voice. "I didn't think tonight would feel like this." Keanu looked at her, his expression gentle. "Like what?" "Like I'm fighting to exist." Keanu nodded slowly. "I know that feeling." They stood in silence for a few more moments. Ana's hands trembled slightly, not from the cold, but from everything that had built up over the years. Being told she wasn't enough, that her accent was too thick, that she didn't fit the mold. "You shouldn't have to defend me," she said finally. "Not here. Not like that." Keanu turned to her. "Maybe. But I wasn't defending you. I was correcting them." She looked up at him, confused. "You don't defend truth," he explained. "You just show it." Those words stayed with her. As they returned to the ballroom, the energy had shifted. People who hadn't even looked at Ana before were now nodding, smiling, even approaching her with compliments. It felt strange how quickly perception changed when someone powerful stood beside you. But Keanu wasn't trying to boost her image. He was doing something deeper. He was returning her dignity. And then came the moment that would shift the night again. The host of the event, a loud, charming man known more for his sharp tongue than his kindness, called Keanu to the stage. Keanu leaned toward Ana and whispered, "You'll want to stay close." She blinked, unsure what he meant. He stepped onto the stage, and the room erupted in applause. Cameras zoomed in. Reporters leaned forward. Everyone expected him to speak about his new film or make a clever joke. But he stood there quietly for a moment, letting the room settle. "Tonight," he began, "is about celebrating talent. Not just fame, not just numbers, but the quiet power that some people bring into a room." There were murmurs. People leaned in closer. I've worked with hundreds of actors over the years, he continued, but few carry the kind of sincerity and heart that Ana de Armas does. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Ana's eyes widened. Her hands clutched the sides of her dress. Keanu went on. She gives her all, even when no one is watching. She doesn't chase the spotlight. She earns it. And yet tonight I watched people walk past her like she was invisible. But I saw her. And now, I hope you all do too. There was silence. Deep, uncomfortable silence. The kind that forces people to reflect. Then, slowly, the room began to applaud. Ana couldn't move. She stood, frozen, tears building behind her eyes. Not out of sadness, but out of the sudden weight of being recognized. Not for fame, not for gossip, but for her spirit. Keanu stepped down from the stage and walked back to her. He didn't smile, didn't speak. He simply stood beside her again. Just like he had at the beginning of the night, people began to approach her, this time with real eyes, real warmth. A veteran actress leaned in and said, "I'm sorry we didn't see you earlier. He's right. You shine." But as the compliments poured in, Ana felt overwhelmed. It wasn't about popularity now. It was about truth, and sometimes truth is heavier than silence. She stepped away and walked toward a quiet hallway near the back of the venue. Keanu followed, not saying a word. When they reached the hallway, she turned to him. "Why me?" she asked. "Why go through all that? For me?" Keanu paused. His eyes were calm but serious. "Because someone once did it for me." She tilted her head. "Who?" "A woman named Christina," he said softly. "I was 21, fresh in Hollywood, ignored, laughed at. One night at a party, I was standing near the exit, alone, trying to hide. She came up to me, told me I mattered, told me my story was worth something." Ana swallowed, tears finally falling. "And you never forgot. How could I?" He smiled. "She changed the way I saw myself. And when you change how someone sees themselves, you change the world a little." Ana didn't know what to say. Her heart ached with gratitude. But then another twist came. A producer, sleek and smug, walked into the hallway with a smirk on his face. "Nice show, Keanu," he said. "Boosting her image so she gets cast in your next film?" Ana stiffened. Keanu stepped forward. "That's not what this is." "Oh, come on," the man chuckled. "You know how this works. Fake stories, public, sympathy, social media buzz. Classic move." Ana's face burned, her fists clenched. But Keanu didn't get angry. Instead, he stepped closer and asked, "What story are you living in, where kindness has to be fake?" The man laughed, but it sounded forced now. "Don't get so serious, man. It's just business." "Not for me," Keanu said quietly, "and not for her." The producer shrugged and walked away, but his words left a stain. Ana looked up at Keanu, trying to hold back tears. "Is that what they'll all think? That this is fake?" "Some will," he admitted. "But the right people will know." She nodded slowly, then whispered, "Thank you for not letting me disappear tonight." He looked at her with soft eyes. "You were never invisible, Ana. They just didn't look properly." They returned to the ballroom one more time. This time people greeted her by name. Someone asked for a photo with just her. Another handed her a small envelope. "You weren't on the original speaker list," they said, "but we'd be honored if you shared a few words." Ana looked at Keanu. He smiled. "Say what's in your heart." Her hands shook as she stepped up to the stage. The room was still. Her voice, quiet at first, carried a calm strength. "Tonight started out like a whisper," she said. "I felt like no one heard me, like my presence didn't matter. But someone reminded me that we all have a voice, even when the room is loud." She paused. "And I want to use my voice now to say thank you. Not just to Keanu, but to anyone who has ever looked past someone. Please, look again. We all carry stories worth hearing. She stepped down to a standing ovation. The night was no longer just about awards. It had become something else, a reminder that being seen can change. Everything, and the rest of the night, was only getting started. The applause from Ana's speech still echoed through the ballroom. But as the crowd returned to mingling, laughter, and champagne, something had shifted. The night felt warmer now, more human. But not everyone shared that feeling. In a corner, near the bar, a man watched Ana closely. His name was Derek Langston, a powerful Hollywood publicist known for controlling stories, spinning reputations, and burying people who dared to rise without his permission. He had once represented Ana, briefly. She had walked away from him after a disagreement about dignity versus attention. Now he watched her glow in the spotlight, lifted by Keanu's words, and his eyes were filled with quiet fury. He leaned toward his assistant and whispered, "We're going to remind everyone who she really is." His assistant hesitated. "You mean dig something up?" Derek smirked. "Create something, if we have to." Meanwhile, Ana and Keanu stood near the terrace doorway, sipping water and soaking in the aftermath of the moment. "I feel like I'm dreaming," Ana whispered. Keanu smiled. "No dream, just people finally listening." "It's scary in a way," she admitted. "Like I've stepped into something fragile, like it could disappear again." "Then we'll hold it together," Keanu said. "Not just for tonight, for good." She looked at him with something close to wonder. "Why are you like this?" Keanu's smile faded a little. "Because I know what it's like to be alone in a room full of people." The music shifted inside. Slow, jazzy, comforting. "Come dance with me again," he said, holding out his hand. Ana took it. They moved slowly through the crowd. The cameras snapped quietly. The onlookers softened. This wasn't fame. It was something gentler. Real connection. But across the ballroom, Derek had begun his work. He made a call. Then another. He whispered to a blogger, passed a photo to a gossip writer. By the time Ana's second dance ended, the first spark of trouble had already started online. A headline flashed on a tabloid app. "Ana de Armas fakes emotional moment to win roles. Keanu's kindness used for clout." Ana's phone buzzed. She didn't check it at first, but Keanu saw the slight shift in her face. "What is it?" he asked. I think something's going wrong." A journalist approached too quickly. "Ana, any comment on the article? About your fake crying stunt tonight?" Her face went pale. "What?" Keanu stepped between her and the reporter. "We're not answering questions right now." But more people were looking now. Murmurs began to ripple again. A different kind of attention was building. Ana's chest tightened. "This can't be happening." "Let's step outside," Keanu said calmly. They moved quickly through the crowd, back out to the garden behind the building. Soft lights lined the path. The night air was cooler now. "They're twisting everything," Ana said, staring down at her phone. "How do they move so fast? How do lies become louder than truth so quickly?" Keanu looked at her and said quietly, "Because some people feed off pain, especially the pain of those rising." "Should I say something?" she asked. "Should I post something?" Keanu shook his head. "Not yet. Let the noise crash. We'll answer with something stronger." "But they're saying I used you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "And I know you didn't," he said firmly. "Anyone who matters knows that too." She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "But what if the people who matter listen?" "To the ones who lie." Keanu took a deep breath. "Then we show them what truth looks like. Not in a post, in how we carry ourselves tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that." She nodded slowly, but doubt clung to her like a cold mist. They didn't know it yet, but the article would spread faster than wildfire.
and Derek was far from done. By morning, the story had made every gossip site, every trending hashtag. Clips
of Keanu and Ana dancing were re-edited to make her look like she was clinging, begging for attention. A screenshot of her tearing up at his speech was used in memes mocking actress tears. Ana sat alone in her apartment, staring at the screen. In disbelief, her phone rang again. Unknown number. She didn't answer. Then a message from her manager came in. "We're getting calls. Some casting teams want clarity before moving forward. Should we go on damage control?" Ana felt like the air was leaving the room. She didn't cry. Not this time. She just sat, frozen, until her phone buzzed again. It was a voice note from Keanu. She pressed play. "Hey, Ana. Don't open any more headlines. Don't listen to the noise. Meet me at the bookstore on Main and 6th, the one with the green windows. Come alone. Trust me." She didn't hesitate. 20 minutes later, she stepped into the quiet little bookstore. It smelled like old pages and coffee. Keanu was there, sitting in the back with 2 mugs of tea. "You knew I'd come?" she asked, walking over. "I hoped," he said, handing her a cup. "Why here?" "Because this is where I go when the world doesn't make sense," he said. "Books remind me of stories, and stories remind me who I am." She sat down slowly. "I feel like everything's falling apart." "It's not," he said gently. "It's shaking, yes, but not falling." They sipped in silence for a while. "They're trying to bury me," she whispered. "Then we dig deeper," he replied. "We don't fight lies with panic. We fight them with truth, over time. Truth doesn't need to yell. It just needs to last." "But what do we do now?" Keanu pulled out a small notebook from his coat. "We write a new ending." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I've seen what the media does. They spin and twist. But what they fear most is people telling their own story before anyone else can, so we do that. Not in anger. In honesty." "You want me to speak out?" He nodded. "Not just speak. Share, calmly, like you did on that stage." Ana took a deep breath, and something inside her began to rise again. Later that day, she posted a short video. No makeup, no designer dress. Just her, sitting by a window, holding a cup of tea. Her voice was calm, steady. "Last night, I felt seen. And today, I feel exposed. But not because I did anything wrong. I felt honored to be lifted by a friend. And now, I won't let the noise erase that moment." The video ended simply. "I stand by the truth, and I stand by kindness." No hashtags. No blaming. Just raw honesty. Keanu reposted it without a single word. The response was quiet at first. Then it began to grow. Real actors, crew members, fans, even casting directors started commenting, "We've worked with Ana. Her heart is real. Truth doesn't need spin. We believe her." Within 24 hours, the tide had turned, and Derek, he was watching again. Only this time, his smirk had faded. Derek Langston stared at the screen, his jaw tight. The video Ana had posted wasn't supposed to work. She wasn't supposed to look calm. She wasn't supposed to be believed. And yet, in less than a day, she had turned the narrative back around. Worse, people were beginning to turn against him. Some blogs had deleted his leaks. Others were tagging him with words like bully and coward. He poured himself a drink, but it tasted bitter now. He walked into the back of his office and pulled open a drawer. Inside was a thin gray folder marked with one word: bonds. It held a memory, an old one. A moment from years ago when Ana had almost signed a long-term deal with him. She was young then, still learning the sharp edges of the industry, but she had walked away before the contract was final because something about it didn't feel right. And Derek had never forgotten. She was the one that got away, and now she was rising without him. He opened his laptop and made another call. "Get me that footage," he said coldly. "The one from the club in Madrid. The private one. His assistant hesitated. But that was years ago. Get it. Meanwhile, Ana sat at a small cafe with Keanu, watching the rain fall outside. It was their first quiet moment since the storm began. She had barely touched her tea. Keanu noticed. "You're still holding your breath," he said gently. Ana nodded. "It's like I keep waiting for something else to hit." "That's because it usually does," he replied honestly. "But this time, you're not alone." Ana looked at him. "You've helped me more than anyone ever has." "Why?" He paused. "Because I believe in protecting what's good, and you're good." Her eyes filled with tears again, but she blinked them away. "I'm afraid to trust it. Like if I lean on it too much, it'll disappear." Keanu leaned in slightly. "Trust doesn't disappear, it grows. And right now, yours is growing stronger than the fear." Before Ana could reply, her phone vibrated. Again. She looked down, and her heart dropped. A new video was going viral. Someone had posted grainy footage from 5 years ago. Ana walking out of a club in Madrid, looking tired, surrounded by people yelling her name. The headline read, "Ana de Armas drunk and dismissive. This is the real her." It wasn't true. She hadn't even been drinking that night. She had been sick, exhausted after back-to-back flights. The cameras had been in her face. Someone had shouted something awful in Spanish. She had looked away. That was all. But the video didn't show that. "It's starting again," she whispered. Keanu reached over the table and took her phone. "Look at me," he said. She did. "Do you trust me?" "Yes." "Then let me handle this." The hours that followed were a storm. The video climbed to trending lists. Derek leaked fake quotes from eyewitnesses who claimed Ana had cursed at fans. Tabloids exploded again. And just like that, the internet started splitting into sides, supporters and skeptics. Keanu didn't waste time. He made 3 calls, one to a journalist he trusted, one to a woman named Lola who had been there that night in Madrid, and one to his lawyer. Within 4 hours, the truth began to surface. The real story, the sickness, the harassment outside the club, the fact that Ana had actually stopped to help a woman who had fainted nearby, even though no one had captured that on video. And then, out of nowhere, someone posted an old handwritten note. One, Ana had left at a hostel in Spain. A cleaner had found it and saved it. The note read, "Thank you for your kindness. It made a hard day better. Ana." The image of that note went viral. People began reposting it with the hashtag, "Yeah, this is Ana." As evening fell, Keanu and Ana found themselves walking down a quiet beach path, far from cameras, far from noise. "I don't know how to thank you," Ana said softly. "You already did," he replied. "How?" "You didn't let them break you." She looked out at the waves. The wind picked up, carrying the salt of the sea. "What if they come for you next?" she asked suddenly. "What if they twist your story now?" Keanu smiled faintly. "They've tried before. And I just kept being who I am. That's the only defense that lasts." Ana stepped closer. "But doesn't it exhaust you, being misunderstood?" "Sometimes," he admitted, "but being silent hurts more." She looked at him then, really. Looked, past the actor, past the icon, and into the man who had faced the storm again and again, and somehow remained gentle. "You're the bravest person I know," she said. Keanu shook his head. "No, I just stopped fearing their noise." She reached out and gently held his hand. "Then teach me how." He nodded. "I already am." Derek wasn't done. His assistant walked into his office with a concerned look. "We're getting pushback," she said. "People are defending her, calling your tactics cruel." "We even lost a few clients today." Derek's eyes narrowed. "People forget. They always forget. Just give it time." But even as he said the words, he knew it was different this time. Keanu had shifted the game. People were watching now. Not Just the gossip, but the patterns. And Derek's pattern was starting to crack. Still, he had one final trick. A lie so bold it would force Ana to either disappear or fight louder than ever. He just needed the right moment. 2 days later, Ana was invited to a film panel in New York. She almost said no. She was tired, fragile. But Keanu encouraged her to go. "You don't have to be perfect," he said. "Just be present." The panel was filled with big names, directors, writers, stars. Ana was the final guest introduced. There was polite applause. A few people in the front row whispered. As the panel began, the moderator asked thoughtful questions. Things were going well, until someone in the audience stood up. A young man, tall, camera in hand. "Ana," he said, "how do you respond to the rumor that you manipulated Keanu Reeves just to fix your career?" The room froze. The moderator tried to move on, but the question had already pierced the moment. Ana looked down. Her breath caught. Keanu wasn't there. This time, she was alone. For a long second, she didn't speak. Then she stood up slowly and said, "I didn't manipulate anyone. I was drowning, and someone offered me a hand. If you think kindness is weakness, then maybe you haven't received enough of it in your life. And if standing up for myself means losing approval, I can live with that. But I won't stay silent to make someone else comfortable with their hate." The room erupted in applause. Someone from the crowd stood up and shouted, "We believe you, Ana," and then another, and another. Tears filled her eyes again. Not from pain this time, from power. Real, human power. Ana stood outside the venue, her hands shaking as she stared at the message on her phone. "You've made a mistake. The next one will hurt." It was from a blocked number, no name, no context. But she knew exactly who it was from. She took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. The applause from the audience was still echoing behind her. But this message drowned it out. It felt like cold water poured over her heart. Just then, her driver pulled up to the curb. She climbed in quietly and sat still, eyes fixed on the screen. Keanu had told her things would get louder before they got quiet again. But she didn't. Expect this. She didn't expect threats. She texted him one sentence. "He just messaged me." Keanu replied instantly. "Don't go home. Meet me at the safe house, now." Ana didn't question it. She gave the driver a new address and leaned back, heart pounding. Keanu was already waiting when she arrived. The safe house wasn't anything dramatic. Just a small, private apartment he kept under a different name. No one knew about it. He used it whenever he needed peace. As soon as Ana walked in, he locked the door and handed her a glass of water. "Did you screenshot it?" he asked. She nodded and showed him. He studied the message carefully. "This was meant to scare you." "It worked," she whispered. "But you didn't run," he said. "That matters. What if he really does something?" Keanu sat down beside her. "He's already doing everything he can from the shadows. This message, it's desperation. Because you stood tall today, and people listened." Ana shook, her head slowly. "I don't want to live in fear, Keanu." "Then we don't," he said. "We fight back, not with anger, with truth, like always." But Keanu knew this was no longer just about media damage. Derek had crossed a line. Threats were dangerous. And if he was desperate enough to send that message, he might be desperate enough to do worse. Keanu made a call to a private investigator he trusted, someone who had helped him years ago when someone tried to leak his personal letters. "Track the message," he said. "I need proof, and I need it fast." While they waited, Ana rested on the couch. She hadn't realized how exhausted she was. Her phone was still buzzing. Messages from journalists, support from fans, people offering interviews. But she turned it off. She needed silence. Keanu brought her tea and sat across from her. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "I don't feel strong," she whispered. "You don't have to feel it to be it." She looked at him. "Have you Ever had to deal with someone like Derek before? Keanu nodded. More than once. Some were worse. They tried to dig up things that didn't exist. Made people question my kindness. But I didn't break. How? Because the truth always finds a way to the surface. And because I kept people around me who reminded me of who I really was. Ana stared at the tea in her hands. What if I forget who I am? Keanu leaned forward. Then I'll remind you. The next day, the investigator called back. It was Derek, he said. No doubt. The message came from a burner phone, but the signal was traced back to a location near his office. I have camera footage of him leaving the building minutes after the message was sent. Keanu closed his eyes for a moment. Can you send it all to me? Already did. Keanu turned to Ana. We have proof. Ana's eyes widened. What do we do with it? We expose him, not with drama, not with rage, with calm, steady truth, the way we've been doing everything. They called Ana's legal team. They drafted a statement. They attached the screenshots, the timestamps, the footage, and they released it all, quietly, clearly, and without blame. The internet exploded. Derek tried to deny it at first, but the evidence was undeniable, and then came the fallout. Clients dropped him. Publications issued public apologies. Hashtags like Stand with Ana and Kindness Wins trended globally. Even Hollywood insiders began speaking out about years of manipulation, bullying, and smear campaigns. It was like a wall had broken, and stories flooded out. Ana wasn't just part of the movement now. She was the movement. That night, Ana and Keanu walked through a quiet park, far from the noise. It's strange, Ana said. I thought the hardest part would be the lies, but it was actually staying kind through all of it. That's always the hardest part, Keanu said. But you did it. So did you. They sat on a bench, watching the stars. Ana looked up at the sky and whispered, You know, I used to think stars only shined because they were distant, untouchable. But now I think, maybe they shine because they survive darkness. Keanu smiled. You just described yourself. She turned to him. I couldn't have done this without you. He shook his head. You could have. I just stood beside you so you'd remember how powerful you are. They sat in silence for a while, letting the peace settle. So what now? She asked. Now, Keanu said. We write the ending. What kind of ending? The one where you walk forward without looking over your shoulder. The one where truth wins and fear stays behind. She smiled. For the first time in days, it was a full smile, steady, honest, unafraid. The next morning, Derek issued a short statement. It was bitter, full of half apologies and vague excuses. No one believed it. By afternoon, he was trending for all the wrong reasons. But Ana didn't respond. She didn't clap back. She didn't post anything new because she didn't need to. She had already said everything in her truth. The film studio that had once hesitated to work with her sent her a message. They didn't just want her for the role, they wanted her to lead the project. The headline hit every major outlet. Ana de Armas to star in and co-produce powerful new drama about rising above media manipulation. And who was announced as executive producer? Keanu Reeves. Together, they weren't just telling a story anymore. They were changing how stories were told. The sun was just beginning to rise over Los Angeles, casting a soft golden glow over the quiet streets. Ana sat on the balcony of her apartment, sipping tea, watching the sky change colors. For the first time in weeks, her heart felt steady. She had survived. The world hadn't crushed her. The lies hadn't erased her. And Keanu, he had become more than just a friend. He had become a quiet force behind her courage. But peace never lasts long when you're in the spotlight. A soft knock came at the door. Ana wasn't expecting anyone. She opened it cautiously. A woman stood there, mid-30s, nervous. She clutched a small envelope in her hands. "Ana?" the woman asked. I know this is strange, but I used to know you, years ago, in Cuba." Ana blinked. "Cuba? Wait, are you?" The woman nodded. "Rosa. We were in the same acting class before you left." Memories rushed back. Dusty, rooms, shared lunches, laughter, and then silence when Ana left and never heard from her again. "What are you doing here?" Ana asked gently. "I didn't come to hurt you," Rosa said quickly. "I came because someone tried to buy something from me, something from your past, and I couldn't do it." She handed over the envelope. Inside was a photograph. A blurry, black and white picture of Ana as a teenager, standing beside a man with a cruel smile. It was her old acting coach, the one who had made her feel small, who had pushed boundaries too far, who had said things no teacher should say. Ana's hands trembled. "He used to say awful things about you after you left," Rosa said softly. "And someone, I don't know who, offered me money to say he had helped you rise in exchange for favors." Ana's stomach turned. "I said no," Rosa added. "But I thought you should know. Someone still wants to break your truth." Ana sat down slowly, the photo resting on her lap. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "You didn't have to." Rosa gave a small smile. "You were always the kind one." It stayed with me. Before Ana could reply, Rosa turned and walked away. Ana looked at the photo again. It was a shadow from a world she had left behind, but she knew what she had to do. That afternoon she called Keanu. He arrived quietly, as always, with 2 coffees and a calm heart. "It's never ending, is it?" she said, as she showed him the photo. "Until you take away their power," he replied. "Shadows only scare us when we turn away from them." Ana nodded. "I think it's time I tell my story. All of it." Keanu's eyes met hers. "Then I'll help you write it." A week later, Ana sat in a quiet studio, surrounded by soft lighting, no makeup team, no stylist, no script. Just her and the truth. She looked into the camera and began to speak. "There are moments in life where you are made small, by systems, by people, by lies. I've known those moments. I've carried their silence for years, but silence doesn't protect you. It only protects the ones who hurt you." Her voice didn't shake. Not once. I was ignored, then lifted, then lied about, then threatened. And now, I'm still standing. She paused. "They tried to turn kindness into weakness, but the truth is, kindness is power. It brought Keanu into my life. It brought friends back from the past. It brought light into a room where I once stood in shadows." The video ended with one line, "And I will never go quiet again." The post went live the next morning. By noon, it had been shared more than 3 million times. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. Keanu stood backstage as Ana stepped onto another panel, this time not as a guest, but as a speaker. The room was packed, not with celebrities, but with students, filmmakers, young women who had followed her journey and felt seen in her words. Ana walked to the microphone and paused. "I thought I had to become someone louder to matter," she said. "But I was wrong. I just had to become someone real." She smiled. "And thanks to someone who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, I learned how to stay real, even in a fake world." She looked toward the side of the stage. Keanu nodded, quiet as ever. The applause that followed was thunderous. In the weeks that followed, the film they were co-producing gained massive attention. Not just because of the cast or the budget, but because people trusted the story now. The movie told the journey of a woman who was erased and how she fought her way back, not with revenge, but with truth. When filming started, Keanu arrived. On set early every morning, helping the crew, greeting extras, making sure Ana had everything she needed. Not as a superstar, not as a savior, just as a friend. One evening after filming, they sat on the hood of a car watching the sunset over the city. "Do you ever think about how different this could have gone?" Ana asked. "Every day," he said. "But then I remember, you had the strength in you the whole time. I just walked beside it." Ana looked at him. "Why do you do that?" "Do what?" "Carry people so quietly." Keanu smiled. "Because loud help draws attention. Quiet help draws healing." She didn't say anything after that, just leaned her head on his shoulder. Months later, the film premiered to a standing ovation. Critics called it raw, transformative, timely. But the most powerful praise came from a young girl in the audience who whispered to her mother, "She's like me." And maybe that's what it was all for. Not awards, not headlines. But that one girl, feeling seen, just like Ana once wished someone would see her, and someone did. His name was Keanu.